into reason. Will you open your eyes? It's a wonder what you'll find with an open mind. You may be surprised. Yeah, gotta get away from this illusion for the sake of the world. This delusion, it's gotta go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Russell Glasser, and with me today is Jeff D.
Hi, Russell. How
Hi.
you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm sporting the full beard today because I had a ski vacation last month, and I just decided to stick with it for a little while. But I'm shaving as soon as I get home today. Today is Sunday, January 13th, 2012. We are a live call-in public access atheist television show dedicated to promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We are based in Austin, Texas. We are available through live streaming video at ustream.tv. The official website of the Atheist Experience is www.atheist-experience.com, and you can provide feedback by commenting on the official show blog at freethoughtblogs.com/AXP, or you can email us at tv@atheist-community.org. If you enjoy the show today, then you should check out our sister podcast, Godless Bitches, which should be coming back online anytime now, as far as I know. Let's see, you can find links at the Atheist Experience website, and as always, the cast and crew of the Atheist Experience will be going to dinner after the show at Threadgill's at 301 West Riverside Drive, arriving at around 6 p.m. And that does it for the announcements, and I don't think we have a special topic today, so are we going to launch right into callers?
It looks like we've got a bunch of lines full, so why not?
All right. Jethro in Houston.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine, thanks.
Fine.
Yeah, I expected Martin and Russell.
Well,
I didn't know Jeff was going to be on.
Sorry, lucky you get Jeff.
Yeah, that's right, dude. I love Jeff. All right.
There's one.
Anyway, yeah.
Everybody loves Jeff. I'll say it right now.
No, Raymond. Everybody loves Raymond.
I don't like Raymond.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That was clever. Anyways, no, I know this topic's been worn out quite a bit on the show, but especially last week.
Yeah.
But I'm calling in.
Did you listen to? Were you? I hear you were on hold all of last week.
Yeah, I was.
Okay. For people who are just tuning in and didn't tune in last week, Matt and Tracy had sort of an epic call with a guy that was about morality and wound up getting featured this week on Huffington Post and rawstory.com and some other places. So that apparently a lot of people like that call.
Really? I did not even realize that much.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, my call hopefully won't make it to the news, but
that remains to be seen.
yeah, maybe it will. I'm not sure, but I don't have that high hopes. But I'm calling specifically because of morality. I'm not calling as a conservative Christian or arguing for God or anything like that. I used to be an atheist in my teenage years for a couple of years, and I haven't converted per se to a religion. I'm not sure what I would even classify myself as because I'm doing a lot of research to just sort of find out the truth. But while I was an atheist, I really took it seriously, and I'm very interested in philosophy. I majored in that in college, and I am also obsessive compulsive to where I have a certain kind to where I have to analyze actions a lot deeper than most other people have to.
Right. So I assume in college you must have read a lot of the social philosophers like John Locke, Jeremy Bentham, that sort of thing.
Well, actually, I ended up switching my major because it had such a impact on how I functioned, because I got too lost in it that I wasn't able to actually function as well as I should have. And so I ended up switching to English. But what I'm saying is that for those period of time, I would analyze over and over again what kind of action should I take in these moral dilemmas throughout the day, and I genuinely couldn't find an answer as an atheist because I had no sense of objective morality. And I'm not saying that to bash atheism, all of a sudden y'all are immoral or anything, but there is, I don't know, the way y'all talk on the show and the way I hear a lot of atheists talk, they're very sure of themselves when they say that thing is immoral. The Bible, the Old Testament, that is immoral.
Well, can I ask you, what answers have you found to that question as a theist?
I'm actually not necessarily a theist. I would call myself an agnostic.
Okay, so you still think there's no answer?
Yes, but I'm searching. I believe there might be a God. I just don't know it yet, or maybe I will never know.
But I mean, you don't really think there's an answer to the moral question, as far as you're aware.
I don't think there's an answer to the moral question from an atheistic point of view. That much I've established.
Yeah,
maybe
but
I could be wrong.
Do you think there's an answer from another point of view?
I think it's possible. Yes.
It's possible, but do you know what it is?
Well, if I did, then I would surely present that world to you. I would say that, if you want to take the most popular religion in the States, Christianity, well, then there is some sort of moral answer there, even if you want to say as an atheist what they preach is immoral. If Christianity is in fact true, then I don't. If God actually exists and he came down to me and said, murder your neighbor, then you could say, hey, that's immoral. Well, the only reason you're saying that is because you wouldn't be obeying God, and you'd actually be immoral in of itself. And that sounds irrational, but if God is, in fact, a supremely moral being, then no matter what actions he takes, they are moral, whether I like it or not.
May I?
Take it away.
Are you familiar with the Euthyphro dilemma?
I remember reading about that in my freshman philosophy class.
Okay, it's really important on that side of the question, on the question of whether you can get objective morality out of Christian divine command theory. Mm-hmm. And the answer is, you can't, not in any way that Christians themselves are going to be comfortable with. Because either the God, when he makes moral pronouncements, is just making it up, in which case that's not real morality, right? That's made up. It's arbitrary. You can say, well, you've got to do it because he's so powerful, but that's just might makes right. Or else morality is just inherently objective. Moral rules are inherent in the nature of reality, and the God is just wise enough to know about them, and he tells us what they are. But in that case, he's not the author of them, which is what Christians want to believe, and that puts them in the realm of stuff we might be able to figure out on our own without even needing him. So however you look at it, a God's pronouncements cannot reasonably be the source of an objective morality.
I can see how that can be correct, and I'd have to do some more reading on that exact dilemma myself.
But you didn't. But you didn't call to get us to rip down Christianity. You want to know what's going on from the atheist side. And you'll get different answers from different atheists, right? Because the atheism is just the lack of belief in a God. Where you go after that, it depends on the atheist, right?
Right.
Atheism, from just having dispensed with gods, does not tell you what your moral rules should be. Me
Right.
personally, I don't believe in objective moral rules as much as I believe in the existence of an objective reality within which we make moral decisions.
Right. And I
And
would
so,
think,
and so it's always a cost-benefit analysis. It's always, and it should be a wise cost-benefit analysis, not just, well, if I stab this guy and take his lollipop, right, does that benefit me at this exact moment? You've got to also factor in what the long-term consequences are going to be.
right. Well, the thing I had a problem with is that, honestly, and I remember how I was as an atheist. I would even if I would sit down and just say, theoretically, if I wanted to stab my neighbor, and I never did want to, and I never will, but if I wanted to, I could not find an actual reason to say I should not. I mean, I could say, well, it's illegal, or it's unlawful, or I'm hurting someone else's being, I'm ending someone else's existence.
You're contributing to a culture where it becomes a place where stabbing one another becomes the norm. And is that the sort of place you want to live in?
Or to ask it another way, don't just stop at saying it's illegal. Do you think it should be illegal? I mean, does it benefit
Precisely.
you
Right.
to live in a place where stabbing people is illegal?
Well, and then you can go even deeper than that, though, is what I would
Right.
say, is that is there even a reason I should want to benefit my own existence, or is there a reason for me to even continue my existence? Or they can go deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's the issue I have with atheism.
Right, but you could say that with about all of philosophy. I mean, that's why philosophers have these concepts called axioms, where I think a reasonable axiom would be that, at base level, people really want to do things that benefit themselves and make themselves feel happy and comfortable. And if we can't even agree on that, then we don't have common starting ground in philosophy. And I mean, some philosophers would want to start by throwing everything out, and some philosophers would just say, look, here's something that we are pretty sure that just about everybody agrees on, so let's start there and reason from that.
Yeah. I've heard that commonly, saying, before we even begin a debate, let's agree that we're actually in the same reality. Earth does exist.
I've gotten into some very complicated arguments with Christians who want to deal with like presuppositional apologetics, and they say stuff like, let's not even start with the assumption that reality exists, or that reasoning, or that logical reasoning is legitimate, because in order to prove that, you have to grant that a God exists first. And they have no justification for that, very much like Jeff just pointed out, that there's no justification for saying that in order to assume some basic principles of morality, you have to assume a God, because the God really doesn't solve it in the first place.
Yeah. Well, if you do take the view, benefit my existence or benefit myself, could we not theoretically live in a society to where we all enjoy rape, I guess, and we could. Clearly not all of us, because those being raped, I guess, would not enjoy it. But
right.
For the
So that's not something that everybody agrees on, actually.
Right.
And,
So
the fact of the matter is, there have been a wide range of different kinds of cultures throughout human history, right? And many of them, from our perspective, the way we have organized things for ourselves, we look back and say those were horrific, right? And we wouldn't want to be part of that. But for the people living in those places, that was the norm for them. I don't think there's any evidence in history of absolute external moral standards that we're trying to discover and force everybody to abide by. I think it's more a question of, we're in a universe, things happen, our actions have consequences, we have relationships with each other, and in the context of that complicated situation, we're trying to chart a course that will be acceptable to the most people.
Right, and what theistic people want to do often in these arguments is set up a false dichotomy where they say you're either going to have theistic morality, which makes sense, or atheistic morality, which doesn't make sense. And as somebody who's studied philosophy, I'm sure you of all people appreciate that, how should we behave is an incredibly complicated moral question. And theism is just one out of many proposed solutions that people have come up with, and it's not even a particularly good one as far as we can tell from the practical results.
Primarily what it's got going for it is the easy answer, right? You invoke the divine command theory. You said the God said A, B, and C are good, and D, E, and F are bad, and bam, you have to obey that now. And as long as you don't look too deeply, as long as you don't apply the Euthyphro dilemma and see that the whole thing is kind of a house of cards, you can have a society where those are the rules and that's the way everybody will behave, and it doesn't get questioned, right? You've got an easy answer to morality, but is it really the best for everyone? That is not how you construct a society that is the best for everyone.
Yeah, and for every argument that you could make, like calling into question the basis for so-called atheist morality, like what if you had a culture where everybody said rape was a good thing, except the victims? That you could also say the same thing about theism and say, like you were saying earlier, what if you had a God that says that rape is always a good thing? Except when the question is did a God say it? Somehow it suddenly becomes the answer is, well, the God said it, so there you go.
Right.
And so that's why we say that's not an answer.
I understand exactly what you're all saying. I would have finished the little rape example, but that's irrelevant now. But I would think that if there is a God, and I understand the divine command theory, but if there is an original cause of the universe, and I won't get into any of those sort of arguments, but if there is an original cause of the universe and this cause, and for some reason we are led to the knowledge that he is all-powerful and omniscient, omnipotent. I'm not saying...
I'm not sure how we'd be led to that knowledge.
I'm not saying we can actually discern those things. I'm just saying theoretically...
Okay, go on.
If we could decide those things, then I would have more of an inclination to believe that being, as in starting my very existence and the very existence of the universe I live in, has more of a ground for morality than I.
Why? No, why? Might does not make right. It doesn't matter how powerful or privileged the tyrant is. The fact of power and privilege does not confer authority automatically.
I agree. But
so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how powerful the God is, even if we take as a premise that there is one, right? It doesn't matter how powerful or all-knowing he is. That does not automatically give him the authority to tell everybody else how to behave.
Well, right. I mean, the God might not even have our best interests at heart. He might be saying, rape is the highest good because, from my perspective, it's funny.
Right.
That doesn't take into account the feelings of the rape victim in any way, and that's part. And the fact that all these other people are independent agents, regardless of the power of that God, is something that you kind of have to take into consideration, no matter what your moral system is.
Well, then I would be curious as to what y'all would say if there is no universe in the proposition that I just gave previously. If there is no universe at all and we know nothing of God, and does some sort of morality exist without us?
If there's no universe? I'm not sure what you mean by
and
that.
There's no people, and there's no people behaving certain ways towards each
if,
other.
if I'll give you a simpler and easier to imagine example. If you're by yourself on a desert island, and there's nobody else to interact with, there's no morality. You will do what you feel like doing, and there may be consequences, but in the sense of having an impact on others and having to work with others to come up with a moral framework that everybody can live with, it doesn't exist. You're by yourself.
Now, I feel bound to bring up an objection
Okay.
that Linnea brought
Okay.
up to that scenario, which was if there's initially no people on an island, no, if there's initially a bunch of people on the island, and you reason to yourself, well, if I killed everybody, I'd be the only person on the island, and there would be no more morality. So I could then say, yeah, it was a good thing that I killed all those people.
Yeah, I think I'm afraid you kind of can, but it's all that time when you were actually plotting their deaths and actually killing them off. You would be way, way, way out of line, at least as far as all of them were concerned, which is where morality comes from.
Yeah, but I'm not sure the status of that changes the instant you kill the last guy.
Who is going to decide that it has not changed? I mean, where is that coming from then? That's saying that there was some objective moral standard all the time that existed regardless of what anybody thought about it, and I don't think that that's defensible.
Well, I don't know. I mean, also, is torturing animals a moral question?
I think everything that your people in your society care about are moral questions. If they want to raise those things as moral questions, they're moral questions. That's how they come up. Things that nobody cares about are not moral issues.
Right. I
don't think it's moral from the perspective of the animals, because I don't think they're involved in the conversation.
We're getting
we're getting on a sidetrack now, having our own thing about
I mean, which just goes to demonstrate that there are these complicated philosophical questions that you can bring up, whether you're dealing with theistic or atheistic morality. It's just that theistic morality claims to bypass this stuff by just saying, "Yep, that's the right answer," and I'm not brooking any argument anymore.
Right.
Right, because the big powerful man in the sky said so, and that just doesn't work.
What I originally meant when I asked you about T Island example, I guess, even though you mentioned that yourself, I'm along the same lines, is, man, the echo. I keep hearing my own words, and it's killing me.
You need to turn down your TV.
I don't even have a TV on right now, but that's fine.
It's echoing in the
TV
phone?
anymore.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sorry about that.
That's the control room's problem, I think.
Control room, you hear that's happening? Do what you can.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, but what I meant by that example is, I'm curious as to whether, do y'all believe morality, if there are no people, if there is no universe, would morality exist in the same sense that a lot of mathematicians would argue that math and logical reasoning exists external of our actual existence? So whether I die or not has no effect on the existence of the truth 2 + 2 = 4.
If there's no universe, I'm not sure what the context would be in which you would examine the proposition 2 + 2 = 4 and determine whether it was valid or not. If you got no universe, you'd have no things to make 2 and 2 of to make 4. So it's kind of rendered irrelevant. And maybe that's what I'm saying.
I should make it a little simpler than to not say universe. Let's just say humanity does not exist anymore. There are no more humans. The truth that 2 + 2 =
Actors besides humans?
Say again?
Are there actors besides humans? People who, I mean, are there other creatures that have a will and desires of some sort?
No, we can. No consciousness left.
I would say in a universe with no conscious entities, but one that we're talking about, as long as it's got natural laws, we will then be able to talk about it, and we can say 2 and 2 = 4 in that universe because we're talking about it, and we have an understanding of what that means. There's not going to be anybody there saying that because, duh.
So you do think it takes some sort of existence to actually acknowledge 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't. It's not
acknowledge it. Yeah,
truth.
acknowledging is a thing that conscious entities do.
No, I agree. I understand what you're saying. I was just curious what your answer would be.
Okay.
I won't take up any more time of your show.
Okay.
It was a very interesting call.
Yes. Thanks for
All
calling.
right, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one.
Feel free to call back. Stotch in Pennsylvania.
Oh, hey guys. Hey Russell.
Hi.
I don't know if you remember me. I called in a while ago, and I talked with you and a lady about supernatural stuff.
Did I wind up irritated on that call?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Good.
Because if you did, it's probably going to happen again.
Yeah, those patterns tend to repeat themselves.
Well, I get.
Sorry,
get
I don't
kinda,
remember everybody who calls, but
Okay.
I'm sure I'll remember eventually.
Well, I get kind of nervous, so I'm sorry if maybe you have a hard time understanding my point, but I saw a program about Big Bang, and I didn't know much about it before I saw that program. And I was wondering if most atheists, if they believe in the Big Bang, if that's how they believe the universe was created.
I can't honestly say if most atheists believe in mainstream science,
Well, how about-
but I
how
would
about you
I would
guys?
assume that the ones who do, and I include myself, agree that that is the most likely scientific conclusion given what we know right now. And my physicist friend's shaking his head, but tough.
Like the show said that the Big Bang was the start of the universe, and that's how the universe
Well,
was
it
created.
was the start of the universe as we know it. I mean, technically, under the Big Bang model, there was stuff which was basically the universe before then, and the Big Bang describes everything that happens moments after it started expanding.
Yeah, so that's what I don't understand, because like there had to be things here before the Big Bang happened, right? First, like something had to go bang, right?
Yeah, before is a tricky thing to say, because in that model, time and the universe come into existence simultaneously. So talking about things beforehand is weird, right? Because there isn't time for anything to exist in before then.
But then something
Because
still
there's
has to be there.
There I said before, huh?
Like something still had to be there, right?
There was something there, yes.
Well, then how do you two guys think that came about?
You realize this is not a science show, and we are not scientists, right?
Right.
No, I'm asking what you two guys as atheists. What's your explanation for?
Well, I mean,
the
one of
beginning
the
everything?
things about
Atheism does not encompass a specific set of scientific propositions. Atheism is just, we don't believe that there's any gods. Now, everything after that, every single one of us you talk to could tell you something else. I think that if you have questions about Big Bang cosmology, you should, watch more shows about it, where probably they will get around to some of these issues that you're concerned about, or better yet, talk to somebody who already knows this stuff, who can explain it to you better than us.
Right, but also as an atheist, I don't make a habit and as a person who's interested in dealing with scientific conclusions, I don't make a habit of making stuff up to fill in the gaps of things that I don't know, like, for instance, a magic man in the sky.
Yeah, well, when I called you guys last time, like you said that you had a lot of good points. You said, like, I asked you how you guys got here, and you said because your parents had sex. But that's not really, that's how you got here, but
Well, that's the question.
they came before you, and their parents came before them. So I'm trying to think, it doesn't make sense to me where it all began if you take God out of the picture.
Well, how does it make sense if you put God in the picture?
Well, because God created everything.
Well, so where did God come from?
Well, because he's a God, and he's the only God.
So you're just using the word God as a special exception that's exempt from your rules as a
But it
thing that
seem
doesn't
like,
need a beginning.
Well, that's that's a theory I have of how everything came to
Don't
be.
call it a theory. It's not verified by experiment in any way. It's a guess.
well, another thing is how complicated everything is. Like you take your brain, for example.
Is the God complicated? Would the God be complicated?
I don't know, because he's the only God, and we can't take him to examine him.
So you don't know and you don't care.
How do you know that he's?
I'm trying to
wait a minute.
I'm trying to get some answers.
But Stotch, how do you know he's the only God? How do you know he even is a God? How do you know any of this stuff? Well, science, at least, I mean, we don't want to. What we want to do is deflect these questions about physics, because we're not physicists, okay? And we can't give you good answers. Now, you're willing to talk about all this stuff with gods and things, but when you get right down to it, you don't know any of that. You have no evidence in support of any of that. All you've got is stuff you've been told and your own guesses. And that's fine, you're entitled to that, but it hardly compares to the discoveries of science that are painstakingly discovered by, years and years of rigorous, careful research. It doesn't compare. You can say, well, I don't know how it could be anything other than God. That's not because you're not one of the guys that did the science that has come up with answers that replace that.
Well, when I look at things like the Big Bang Theory, it kind of seems to me like the same as if you just threw a bunch of stuff in a blender and turned it on, and it produced like a human mind, which is
I don't think you really paid attention to that show you were watching.
And because it seems that way to you, do you assume that is therefore what it is?
I don't understand what
you said. It seems to me like the Big Bang is just a bunch of stuff thrown in a blender. Okay, fine. That's how it seems to you.
That is.
But does that mean that's what it is?
Yeah.
No, actually, no. No, actually, no. Go watch more science programs.
I saw the program, and that's what it said. Everything.
It said.
All right. If you're bound and determined to refuse to educate yourself and instead latch on to your personal impression of one science program you watched,
and it said that everything exploded, and then the gravity spun it around, and then that made the galaxies.
Go learn more science. Thank you for your call. What do we do with that?
I don't know.
Good grief.
Okay. Nick in Mount Pleasant, Michigan.
Oh,
and
okay.
Turn down your whatever audio device. Okay.
Hi, Nick.
What's up?
Sorry, that last guy got me off track for a sec. Well, hello to you, Russell and Jeff.
Hi.
I have two questions, and I actually gave them to the screener in the wrong order, but they're related to each other. The first one is, I have a friend who, he's an atheist, but he used to be a theist, and he's quite an impressionable fellow, I would say. Basically, if you show him a video and you use big words and inspirational music in the background, or it doesn't even have to be inspirational, just eerie and mysterious, he will believe basically anything. And that's why he got into religion, and then quickly got out because he started asking questions, right? But the problem is now he's into a lot of different type of pseudosciences. And me personally, I'm going to college to be a astrophysicist. I'm in undergrad as a physics student, and I usually am able to skirt aside all of his ideas and all the 2-hour videos that he sends me of the spirit sciences and sacred geometry and astrology, and well, actually, and that's where I kind of draw the line. When he starts to bring stuff to me like astrology or anything physics related, which is kind of like what I want to go into, what I feel passionate about, it's like he's drilling into my brain. Like it bothers me. It's bad, and I don't know. First, I don't know if I can avoid it any longer without like at least confronting him about it, because he is my friend and I can't, just keep letting him talk about this stuff when I think it's total bunk. But how do you get someone to be skeptical and ask questions without here's an example. For astrology, I told him that correlation does not necessarily mean causation. And what he told me was, you just need to open your mind more. And he basically adds that on anything that he presents to me,
Yeah.
and I tell him, and I ask specific questions.
I
Yes?
think you're being too nice to him. I personally feel like he's taking your cautious politeness as a sign of assent to go ahead and keep on saying it. And if instead of saying, well, correlation is not causation and whatnot, if you were to say, this is a bunch of bullshit and you're really gullible for believing it. First of all, you might be surprised to find that if you're good enough friends, it wouldn't totally ruin the friendship. It would just cast the discussions in a somewhat different light. But, I don't know how good friends you are. You might want to ask yourself, what am I getting out of this friendship? Second of all, if you call him on something that is clearly bullshit, then... and you're able to back yourself up, because I feel like you've probably got a bunch of things to say that you're holding back from saying to be mindful of his feelings. He's probably going to wind up realizing that if he's going to bring this stuff up with you, then he's going to get into an argument every time. So either you both find the arguments enjoyable and they keep happening, or, one of you just winds up backing off and maybe you don't talk to each other, or you have sort of a gentleman's agreement not to talk about this anymore.
I have an actual specific suggestion.
Okay.
Okay.
Keeping in mind, of course, that you can't force a person to think rationally.
No way.
They're just bound and determined not to, okay? This is just a specific suggestion. You said he became Christian for a while, and then he quickly left that because he was asking questions? Okay. Next time he brings one of these things up, ask him questions until he tells you, well, you just have to open your mind. And then you turn around and ask him, why didn't you do that for Christianity?
Oh, nice.
Oh, snap. Okay, yeah, that's...
Somewhere in his makeup, there is some glimmer of an ability to recognize bullshit, or at the very least, to recognize the importance of caring whether something is bullshit or not, right?
Okay.
And that's all you're doing. And that's what he did when he asked questions in religion.
Okay. Because, it happened just earlier today where he posted an article on Facebook that said, physicists find evidence that the universe is part of a giant brain. And this is where I was like, okay, I'm into
calling
physics.
us.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm into physics, so I'm gonna open this article and I'm gonna read it, and I'm gonna see if I can just catch it, just open it. So I opened it, I read through it, and all it was saying was some scientists and these scientists and these physicists, and I'm like, it doesn't even say who these some scientists are.
Right, and in that situation, if I was interested in arguing with this guy, which I bet I wouldn't be and would just stop following him, but if I were, I would look at that link and say, this article is not very specific. Do you know which scientists they are? And that sort of puts the onus on that guy to actually fill in the gaps that the article has been leaving, because the article is being sloppy and you're letting him know that he can't just get away with referencing some vague authority that makes claims that it doesn't even back up.
Mm-hmm. I guess you are right. I am being very, very nice to him, but I think I've learned throughout our friendship that he gets incredibly defensive when you do attack his beliefs.
Well, tough.
So he feels as though he says my beliefs are dynamic and they're not static and they're always changing, but he's the only one that can change them. And so he'll go online and search through all this natural science and spirit science stuff, and he'll believe any article that's online. But if I said it, it's just me being a jerk,
Right.
and he'll be annoying about it. But maybe you're right, and then I'll definitely take your advice in mind.
Well,
And,
I mean, like I said, I assume you have your own very good reasons for staying friends with this guy. I don't know them personally.
I'm just a friendly guy, I guess.
Well, you can be too friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a finite amount of energy you can devote to the relationships in your life, and if this guy is not worth it, then that's not your problem to make it worth it.
Okay. Yes, that has occurred to me. And my second question is, I want to have kids someday, and I'm actually kind of worried that they will turn out like him in the way that I want them to be incredibly skeptical, and I want them to be scientifically literate, and I want them to ask questions about everything. I'm excited for the time where they ask questions about everything. But the problem is, I'm worried that they won't know how to ask the right questions, and they will start going, oh, well, I'm asking questions, but it's still going into stuff like spirit science. And then I'm worried that they will fall into being too impressionable and too gullible. And I don't know, how do I...
You haven't even had these kids yet?
No.
Okay. I would stop being so deeply worried about it until it's actually a problem in front of you. And second of all, again, you're not going to be able to program their minds to be exactly the way you want them either. So there's a crapshoot, and that is the risk you take. And decide if you can deal with the risk that you wind up with kids you just can't be proud of, and then act accordingly.
That's exactly what I don't want. I don't want to program their mind per se. Like, that's what I don't like about religion.
But you're worried that they won't come out the way you want. So
yes.
Now you know why religion loves to make people think its way so much, right? Or people in religion, religious leaders like that so much.
Touching back on what I said earlier about maybe being too nice, I think there's a trap that atheist or very new atheist parents can fall into about, well, I'm just going to not try to influence the kid at all and let them go their own way. And, kids' brains aren't fully formed yet.
Right.
And you as a parent have more opportunity than anyone else to influence the way that they think. And if skepticism and scientific reasoning and being a good reader and a curious mind are things that are important to you, then you share that with your kid. And you hope that they pick up on it as much as possible. And I think that if they ask you about God, you don't lie. You tell them what you think, and you honestly tell them that other people think differently, and you give them your reasons, same as anyone else. I have some posts on the Atheist Experience blog, which you can search for by typing in Atheist Experience Raising Atheists. It's a 2-part post which goes into more detail on what I just said.
Okay, thanks. One small question. Could you explain to me what a straw man argument is? Because I've been watching your videos, and Charlie the Atheist, he used it a million times.
Okay, a straw man is like, let's come up with a quick example. It's when you mischaracterize the argument being made by the other person, and then you argue against that instead of against what the person is actually saying. Okay, and the phrase straw man is written. Imagine, a mannequin that you're beaten up on, right? Well, that's not actually addressing a real person.
Yeah, you take...
That's what that's all about.
You take a scarecrow and you write the words, Pat Robertson on it.
Right.
And then, you beat the stuffing out of that scarecrow and you say, I just kicked Pat Robertson's ass.
I want to do Pat Robertson's voice so bad right now, but I'm on camera.
Okay, so it's something you don't want to do.
You do not want to attack a straw man.
Well, I mean, technically, if you can get away with some fallacies.
If you catch somebody else doing that to you, you call them on it. You say, you are attacking a straw man. You are not attacking my actual argument.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
All right, thanks for calling.
Thanks for calling, Nick.
We got 15 minutes left.
Okay.
And we're going to talk to Saraya in Gainesville, Florida.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Russell and Jeff. First of all, I just want to compliment your new catchphrase of might does not make right. I like that.
I didn't make that up.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That's like a principle in ethics.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard of it. But anyway, my question, I guess, is related also to a friend that I have or had. I know, Jeff, you're really, against the idea of the Christian hell and basically how it's kind of saying I deserve to be tortured forever. And I agree with that. And I have this friend, she's a Baptist. And, we started talking about gay marriage, and, she said she's all against that, and she said sinning, and, I guess the Bible says, like, well, what do you think about me? I'm an atheist, and do you think I'm going to hell? And she said, well, yes, but, I'm not the one making you go there,
The Dodge, sure.
Worship.
She worships the God that's going to send you there, whose rules are going to send you there, but, no, she's completely out of it. She has no responsibility. Yeah, I heard that a million times.
Yeah, and so, I told her I don't really want to be friends with, someone that thinks that about me. I'm wondering if you guys have gone through anything similar, or if you think I'm being too mean, or what's the...
I mean, it really depends to me. I don't know. I can't speak for Jeff. I mean, to me, it depends on how central a part of that is of my relationship with that other person. Because if I'm talking to somebody and they're always saying, by the way, you're still going to hell or something like that, that person is just being a run-of-the-mill dick to me. And I probably don't find it productive to spend my time with someone like that.
Okay.
But it's possible to be friends with someone who has those beliefs, but tries not to think about it at least. That's a courtesy of some sort. I mean, if you don't want to make if you think that your religious differences will never be resolved, but neither one of you wants to make it a central issue between you, that can work. Jeff?
Okay.
By the time my atheism became important enough to me to care about things like this, I was already not hanging out with pricks like that. So I haven't actually been tested. I haven't had a friend who believed I was going to hell for me to find out. But my impulse is that I don't care whether they talk about it. If it ever comes up once that they're worshiping an invisible friend who they think is going to send me to hell and that I will therefore deserve it and, get what I've got coming to me, that is not my friend. I can't imagine, even if they never, ever say it again, that's not a friend by my standards.
Okay, I would tend to agree. All right, well, thank you guys very much.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Of course, if I was that horrible a person that I did deserve it, I can imagine having a friend who merely recognizes that I actually am completely irredeemable and deserving of eternal torment if I really was. I suppose I could imagine that.
I suppose even if you had a friend
that person might want to, mop my forehead or something and be kind to me, even though I'm getting my just desserts. But since I'm not so evil that I deserve eternal punishment, there's no way that a friend can think that I am.
What if you were like a mass murderer and you had a friend who was always like, you really deserve to go to jail for the stuff you did?
Yeah, I can imagine in situations like that, but that's not where we're at.
Right. Artie in North Carolina.
Hello there. It's great to be on your show. Thank you. Anyway, I'm going to make this quick because I am an unbeliever myself, and I don't want to take up too much time. But a lot of the arguments for the existence of God are not that convincing to me. But some of my experiences in life cause me to sometimes wonder about maybe God intervening every now and then. I'll just tell you why I think that. My grandmother died about 15 years ago, and I was on tour with a musical group at the time. and we just happened to be on tour in Rhode Island where the funeral was on the day that the funeral happened. So I was able to, take the day off and go to the funeral. And there were a lot of other really weird things that happened that just seemed a little too perfect.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people who I might ask would go, oh, well, that's God,
I wish I'd printed out and brought in this thing I was looking at today. There's an actual mathematical proposition which says, and it's got a name, and I can't remember the name, so I don't know how you're going to look it up. I'll try to remember to bring it in the next time I'm on the show. But if you go with the definition of a miracle, that it's a thing that happens, it's like 1 in a million chance of that thing happening. And then if you go with the standard that like a thing happens to you every second, then on average you're going to have something that seems miraculous happen to you once every 35 days. So that's the way to look at it. The universe is this incredibly complex place that you're in, and stuff is going on all the time, constantly. And it's really no surprise if every once in a while something that seems really significant or unlikely actually happens. If it happened all the time, that would be wrong, right? But then I think if it happened all the time, that would just set a new standard of what's normal. and then it would have to be incredibly unlikely for it to seem miraculous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I could see that. That's probably the last bastion of believing in God in my world are those experiences I've had. And I know they're coincidences, but there's also that side of me that sometimes questions that,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's normal because you're human, and one of the things that humans are really good at is seeing patterns.
Yes.
And they're so good at seeing
remembering
patterns.
the hits and forgetting the misses. Here's the thing that annoys the crap out of me that happens all the time. At some point, must have been like 15 years ago, I happened to look at a clock and it was 3:16. Right? And then the Bible, 3:16 is this important chapter. And I don't even know what it's from anymore. But so now, every once in a while, I'll look at a clock and it'll be 3:16. And of course, my brain is remembering that because that one time it lodged itself in my memory. And so a little alarm goes off. Oh, it's that 3:16 thing again. Shut up! It's 3:16 twice a day. Twice a day. The fact that my eyes happen to glance at a clock at those moments every once in a while is completely not significant. But, my brain right now is noticing that. It's annoying.
Yeah, my number was 34 for years and years. Every time I looked at the clock, it was 34 after.
Right.
So I don't know what that means.
It means our brains are pattern recognition machines that are going to go ahead and do it even when we don't want them to.
When I was bored in school, I used to stare at my watch when a time was coming up that was cool, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And especially if there was a date, and then this year was 2012, which means something, let's see, there was a, if you go by the European standard of labeling dates, then there was a 12, 3, 4, or something like that. I don't know. But it's something that will never happen again. And there's something that will never happen again happening constantly.
Yep.
Right. All right, well, thanks, guys. I just wanted to run that by you and see what you thought. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Artie. What we got?
We got nobody.
Okay.
What's going on, call screeners? We got lines. We have someone on the line who's probably Matt from Oslo, so we're not going to take him.
I don't know that example you brought up of actually consciously looking for those moments.
No, that wasn't a good example.
But it illustrates that those kinds of apparently coincidental situations do in fact occur.
Right.
And there are some kinds of things where there's a schedule and you can actually wait for those moments.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. But imagine if, 3 times in your life you had accidentally glanced at some calendar or something and noticed it.
Sure,
then
that
it would be like,
pretty amazing.
and totally not justified.
Well, we got like 3 minutes left on the show,
There's
so
somebody.
we could.
Somebody just showed up.
Who's
Take
this? Glen in Reston, Virginia. You got 2 minutes, and we cannot go over presuppositional apologetics in 2 minutes. So say your piece real quick, and maybe call back next week.
Sure. I just wanted to refute the misrepresentation of the Christian's view for justification of knowledge.
Okay.
We do have a justification, and
Right.
obviously it's within Scripture. You wouldn't accept it, but in Colossians 2:3.
So as long as I assume that your book is correct, then that proves that you're correct.
No. The question is, do we have justification for knowledge? And again, from our worldview, we do. Unfortunately,
That's
for
not,
your worldview,
but that's not
you
where
don't.
you get a justification for knowledge, is from your worldview.
Well, no, wait a minute. We're asking, is our worldview coherent? I'm asserting that ours is, and we have justification.
I don't
You may
care
not
if it's
like-
coherent. Is it accurate? I mean,
Absolutely.
Narnia is coherent.
Internally consistent is not the same as, actually accurate in the greater sense of the universe.
Well, wait a minute. We're talking
Not
about
impressed.
epistemology. We're talking essentially about epistemology. How do we know what we know?
Uh-huh.
I would ask you, how do you know anything from your worldview? How do you avoid an infinite regress? You
How
can't.
do you?
Oh, again, knowledge from God.
Yeah, no, dude, you
How do
made
you
that
know
up.
that you've got that?
You just made
No,
that up.
No. Again, no, that's your assertion. Again, we're asking, are we justified?
You're welcome
in
to
knowledge?
demonstrate that your God actually exists.
Well, wait a minute. Again, you're asking me to demonstrate. I'm giving you the logical
Right.
reasoning.
You're giving me
you're
the
not giving me
circularly
logical
logical reasoning. Yes, you certainly are.
You're just
again,
saying
If the God
you know
exists,
a thing
then
is
the
true.
God can do a thing that makes it so you know that he exists,
No,
and round we go.
No, that's
Okay, I
incorrect.
think we're
Again,
done.
All right.
you
You can go back and reread my debate with Pastor Stephen Feinstein. It's in 5 parts. It's on the blog, and it was incredibly tedious.
Yeah, totally not impressed, dude.
And read some more. Read it anyway, because it's... also, there's this other blog called Evangelical Realism, which is doing it sort of a rerun of my debate with Pastor Feinstein. He's reading through all of Pastor Feinstein's side and nitpicking it all from a different angle.
Oh, boy.
So I would look that up, because he's entertaining, or at least he does at least as good a job as I did, if you think I did a good job. And I'm going to say that's our show.
That is our show.
That is
I
our
think when
show.
you say
Look,
that, you are
credits.
accurate.
Come to Threadgills if you would like to. If you're in the area, you want to hang out with some atheists, then we're going to be there after the show. And thanks all you guys in the control room for making the magic happen. Thank you, Jeff D.
And all you guys in the chat room for not doing anything but listening to us and typing words.
Yep. Thanks for that. And goodbye, everyone. See you next week.